Welcome to Cord Cutting Today for June 4th, 2019. This is the show where I give you a quick look at some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting right now and let you know my thoughts on them. If you want to learn more about these stories, in the show notes down below I'll put a link to each story. You can read about them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. It really does help us because it lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. And hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of cable TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. Well, it's been a very busy 24 hours in the world of cord cutting. Apple announced the new tvOS. They also officially killed off iTunes and more. We're going to cover all that today, plus a whole lot more. But in all that mix of news, one of the stories that kind of slipped through the radar a little bit was that Amazon is launching a live TV streaming service in Canada. For a long time, it was reported that Amazon was working on a Sling TV, YouTube TV type live TV streaming service. It was later reported as a dead deal. They weren't able to, quote, get the deals at a price point that would make it feasible, that they weren't able to compete at the price point people wanted them to. Instead, they dived into Amazon channels and said, hey, subscribe to HBO, CBS All Access, etc. through our service so we can kind of manage it, and that will be their live TV streaming type service. Now in Canada, they are launching a live TV streaming service according to an interview that Amazon gave to the CBC News out of Canada. According to reports, some of the channels will even include Nickelodeon will be available, but many of the big Canadian channels that you expect, like the ones from Rogers, are not going to be included. And sports is something that's missing, though Amazon says they are working on adding sports to this service. It sounds like a very basic, low-end, small, stripped-down, we'll call it, tier of live TV streaming channels. And it should be a good thing for cord cutters. Now, there's just not nearly as many cord cutting services, especially in the live TV streaming world, compared to what's available in the United States up in Canada. Hopefully Amazon can kind of kick down some doors, get some deals done, but Canada has a lot of protections in their system to protect Canadian-owned companies from having American companies come in and dominate them. And some of these protections have also been like the amount of Canadian content that must be broadcast versus U.S. content. And that's created problems over the years in getting certain shows that Canadians want, and it's also helped protect Canadian cable companies in a way that in the United States it has not from cord cutting. Now you say, well, you know, U.S. still has a lot of monopolies and made it very hard for cord cutting and more. That is very true, but it's even more so in Canada. So I hope this is successful. We just don't know a lot about it. Exact pricing, launch date, full channel lineup have not been announced. We reached out from Cord Cutters News to Amazon asking for more details. They have not responded to us at the time of this recording. So my question to you is, are you from Canada? Are you a Canadian cord cutter? I know it's one of our largest groups of readers outside the United States. Are you excited about this? What services do you get to watch live TV? I know over-the-air TV is not nearly as widespread in Canada as it is here in the United States. So I'd love to hear from you. Leave us a comment down below. But we'll be watching this. A lot of people have asked, if it's launching in Canada, does that mean it'll launch in the U.S.? Not necessarily, because again, the U.S. has very different rules, very different contracts, and Amazon has seemed to bet on Amazon channels being their live TV streaming service to compete with CBS All Access and HBO Now being on there to compete with the Slings and the YouTube TVs and the Hulus. So we'll wait and see. It wouldn't surprise me if someday they did, but this is a reversal of earlier reports that Amazon had completely walked away from this plan to have a live TV service. Next up, Sling TV is removing the Terabeka, I hope I pronounced that right, shortlist, which is a streaming service that included a bunch of classic or some newer movies on it. In 2017, Sling TV added it to the Hollywood Extra, which gave you access to their on-demand catalog through your Sling TV on demand if you subscribe to the Hollywood Extra. That contract, starting June 1st, came to an end and it was removed. There is still a lot of movie channels, including Turner Classic Movies, available through the Hollywood Extra package. But you no longer have Terabyte shortlist. Now, as a standalone, it's $5 a month if you want to go subscribe to it directly if you miss it. Did not receive a whole lot of complaints about this being removed. Did get a few, a lot less than I would have expected. So maybe a lot of cord cutters just don't care about that channel, which may have been one of the reasons why Sling TV didn't ask for it to be replaced. Usually when a channel, even when of the add-ons is removed, I get a lot more complaints than I received over the weekend about this. So my question to you is, did you care? Is this one of those channels you just don't care about? It's always a battle with these live TV services, right? If we keep that service and not a lot of people are watching it, it means we have to maybe raise our price. Or if we drop it, maybe we upset a few people, but overall for the vast majority of people, we can keep their price down and keep them happy. This is a balancing game. All services fight it. You know, we've seen these battles time and time again. Cable fights this battle too. It's not like this is an exclusive issue to cord cutting. So I'd like to know, what do you think? Were you upset that Sling dropped this? Or are you happy that they're keeping price down by maybe removing something you didn't care about? Leave me a comment, let me know. Comcast, next story of the day is Comcast is dropping Cinemax and replacing it with their own streaming service. So Cinemax has been around forever. Increasingly, though, it's being dropped from services. Now, Comcast and Spectrum both had a premium tier, which included some movie channels. Cinemax in both of those was included. Now, Spectrum dropped it first. Now, Comcast has dropped it, replaced it with something they own, which probably relies very heavily on their own NBC Universal content. They're cutting back. And again, you know, the tough thing here is they're cutting channels. Price is not going down, but it's a balance. They may be sitting there saying, hey, for the number of people watching Cinemax, it's just not worth it versus what AT&T now wants. There has been a lot of reports that AT&T is trying to get more money for their own content that they purchase through Time Warner. We see that with Dish and HBO. Dish pushed back that AT&T wanted a price hike on HBO, and not only for the amount of money that they get from Dish, all that, and not only for people paying for it, but they also wanted a guaranteed number of subscribers. That even if people don't subscribe to HBO, and it's below that number, that Dish will have to pay for at least this much of a number of subscribers. Dish pushed back and said, you know what? For the same price our subscribers can get HBO Now, so guess what? We're going to drop HBO in favor of HBO Now. Comcast seems to be doing something similar here from our understanding. And I'd love to know, were you a Comcast customer? Did the loss of Cinemax upset you? It is available as a standalone, just not included in the dedicated high-end packages that had some movie services included. All right, so let's get into the news story that I think everybody's here for. Apple has announced a major update to the tvOS for the Apple TV coming out this fall. We'll come out with a new home screen with better recommendations on it. Multi-user accounts now, so you can now have a profile for you and a profile for your kids, which I really love. They didn't talk about parental controls. I would love this to have a parental control system on it so that my profile can be wide open, but then I can have a profile for my daughter that says, okay, you can't install apps and you can only get these 5 services that I picked for you. I would absolutely love that. That would put the Apple TV right up high on my list of devices to own in my house. They also announced that they are improving basically the whole user discovery engine, trying to make the discovery of content better overall with a refreshed look. Nothing hugely groundbreaking here. It was a very short presentation. Of all the changes that come into Apple, the tvOS was the smallest part of it. They did also announce that Ron Moore, hope I pronounced that correct, one of the executive producers of the new Battlestar Galactica, and he also worked on Star Trek, has a new show For All Mankind, which is a kind of an alternate history show about the space race where the Soviet Union beats America to Mars, or to the moon, excuse me, and it creates a whole new space race between Russia and the United States, waters discovered on the moon, and more. So there is a very interesting, it looked like a very high quality show, and Ron Moore has a huge following of creating high quality, first-rate science fiction content. So it'll be very interesting to see what he does there. Past that, no new Apple TV Plus news, unfortunately. Still coming this fall. No price, no date on that. We did learn that iTunes is being retired, officially replaced by Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, and Apple TV. Syncing of your phone will now be done right through the Mac OS, where right in the sidebar, you'll have a new option right there when you connect your phone to sync your phone to your computer through a cable, back up your phone, and more right on your Mac. Nothing was said about Windows. For now, I am assuming Windows will continue to receive Mac or iTunes updates, while the Mac OS does not, and eventually with the new rollout is eventually replaced. But it is equally possible that the 3 new apps, the Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and Apple TV will appear on Windows, replacing iTunes, probably with some type of 4th app there for syncing your iPhone to those devices. We'll see. It's probably not coming anytime soon. We are trying to dig, at the time I'm recording this, which is actually last night if you're watching this, we're trying to dig into this a little bit more and see if we can find something in the FAQ or more about iTunes on Windows. If we learn anything, check out that story down below for updates. But past that, like I said, not a huge amount of updates. One of the coolest features that was announced is you will be able to connect your PS4 and your Xbox One S controller to your Apple TV to play games. Apple's gaming on the Apple TV has always, I found, lacked a lot. If you have an Xbox, if you have a PS4, I'd love to know, would you disconnect your controller from there and connect it to your Apple TV? What game is pulling you from your PlayStation 4 or your Xbox One over to the Apple TV? That's always been the issue I have with these kind of things. So it's like, hey, you can now use your PS4 and your Xbox One S. I found most often the gamers who own those devices are looking for games on those devices, not games offered through the Apple TV. Now, with that said, the new game service come from the Apple TV could change that. I'm not sure I've heard of any games so far that I think will pull people away from the Xbox and the PS4 to the Apple TV. Love to know from you 2 things. A, what of these announcements are you most excited about? Which ones are you most upset about? B, are you a gamer who is excited about the game features coming to the Apple TV? Is there anything here that's going to pull you away from your Xbox, from your PS4, move you over to the Apple TV? I'd love to hear from you. Well, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Later on today, don't forget about the podcast. It's going live on Tuesday. I'm going to kind of experiment with Tuesday being one of our main goals. We had to move around with that a little bit on the podcast. Next week podcast will be off, as I'm taking kind of a half week for a family vacation. So keep an eye on that, as this week's podcast goes live later today. Next week off, and then we're back to a normal schedule for the rest of the year. I don't have any planned trips or anything, and I think we'll cancel that at this moment. So I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for your support. Check out corecarsnews.com for more news, tips, tricks. Don't forget about our app. I'll put a link to that in the show notes so you can get all of our news right on your phone with fewer ads and cool new features like ability to save for offline viewing. So I hope you all take care. I'll see you tomorrow.